you have to realize from the outside looking in that as a farmer, my land is my base, and I have to have that base to have anything. So I have to take care of that, just as I feel generations before me had done. So it's only to my benefit and future generations' benefit for me to take care of that land through conservation practices, or even the reduction in herbicide use, anything to help make that land produce more for future generations, and in process, feeding the world.
Congressman Tim Scott, thank you for joining Agri-Pulse today.
Absolutely, it's good to be with you.
Let's just start by telling us a little bit about your background and what led you to run for Congress.
Yeah, I am a guy who's a small business owner who for my entire life felt like the most important thing I could do is to start businesses to help folks get jobs. Growing up in a single-parent household, it really was important to me to frame a future that would inspire me. I had a good mentor who came along to help me figure out that thinking your way out of poverty was an opportunity. And one of the things he taught me was business ownership was the way to go. And I didn't believe him for a long time, so it took me about 3 years to figure out that there was a possibility for business ownership. And at the end of the day, I started a couple businesses and they went pretty well. And it led me into the path of public service, that being a business owner allowed me to have the margin in my time to devote much of my time to public service, and I found that I really liked it. It became like a lot of fun. So through that experience, I found my way into the political process and becoming an elected official on the local level and then on the state level, and now serving in Congress, looking for ways to be a servant to the people who believed in me when there was not really much of a reason to do so. So it's been a lot of fun.
Do you feel like your first year in the House met your expectations?
You know, my expectations were different than perhaps people would expect. My thought process has always been doing less here is doing more for the American people. And it has turned out, I think, to be so, that the less we do, the better off we are as a country. When the government takes a step back, it seems like we make 2 steps forward.
So what are some of your legislative goals for this year?
You know, one of my most important goals this year is with the restoration of confidence. And I think there are a couple ways that we do that. We roll back the regulatory environment that stands in the way of the American people and business owners getting back to work. And we try to start the conversation about restructuring the tax code so as to empower people to make better decisions and to eliminate the bias we currently have against business ownership and taking risk.
We're trying to pass the budget for next year right now. What are some of the challenges you're facing?
One of the biggest challenges that we have as a Congress passing the budget is that the United States Senate simply hasn't passed a budget in more than 1,000 days. January 24th, I believe, marked the 1,000th day without a budget. We need to be clear with the American people that we know how to spend money more than 60 days at a time. We need to show them that we understand that a budget is a necessity. If you have a business, you have a budget. If you're having a tight time in your finances at home, you create a budget. A budget is a necessary tool to manage your finances. And the Senate refuses, absolutely refuses to have a budget.
You represent the 1st District of South Carolina.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us a little bit about the makeup of that district?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about South Carolina as a whole, 27,000 farmers, $2 billion of economic impact in our state. You think about our district, when you think about areas of strong farming, Beaufort County, you look at Dorchester County, Charleston County on Johns Island. The district as a whole, over 20 million tourists come into the district. We have some of the most affluent neighborhoods in all of the state, some in the entire nation. And we also have some extreme poverty. So our objective is to create an entrepreneurial spirit that actually becomes a springboard for more success in people's lives.
What are some of the main issues you hear from the ag community and the farmers in your district?
You know, really, they would love to see the federal government get out of their way. There are a lot of things that are happening positively. There's so many opportunities from energy reuse of some of the agriculture. If we could find ways to empower our farmers to do what they do best, which is conserve their land, be responsible with their objectives, and we can just get out of their way, we find ourselves in a very positive position.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your specific goals for 2012?
Certainly. My specific goals for 2012 really go back to 2011. My first piece of legislation that I thought has great opportunity for success at home. My definition of success is not what we pass here, but what we clear the way for back at home. And it's my Rising Tide Act of 2011. I'll update it for 2012. What it basically says is that we are going to lower the corporate tax rate in order to incent folks to bring more jobs into our country. And we're going to allow for permanent repatriation, or bringing jobs home from overseas. My overall theme for 2012 is that a good economy makes all things possible. And when you think about that from an agricultural perspective, you go no further than the free trade agreement that we passed with South Korea, with the Korean free trade agreement. And what you'll see in the free trade agreement is that they got rid of lots of the tariffs, which means that our farmers now have a stronger opportunity to do trade with Korea than ever before. With that said, if we continue to move barriers out the way, I believe that our small business owners and our farmers will be able to go to work knowing that they have a real, true reason to be optimistic about their future and the prospects of making a profit.
Congressman Tim Scott, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Absolutely.